Greetings, everybody. It's Damon yet again, and this time, instead of talking about a list, I thought I might start a little series about five five roles, one actor, one actress. In this case, it's what are the five roles that basically, if I think of an actor, what are the five roles that come to mind, and to me, embody that person, this actor, more than anything else. What are the five, uh, not necessarily biggest role, but the five uh roles that I feel fit best to describe said actor. What basically, if I close my eyes and I picture an actor, what are the five roles I feel like mark me the most from said actor? What are the five roles that to me are the most important of said actor? At least my opinion. What I personally feel are the most important in somebody's career. They can be, it doesn't necessarily mean the five roles that somebody has as the best box office best that garner the best box office. It's basically the five roles that I feel are the most integral to career and basically completes the puzzle pieces that is their career, in my opinion. So if any actor or actresses know this or watch this and you feel like basically maybe I'm off the rail, I'm sorry, this is my opinion, this is not a fact. So I will start this. And I have to do that exercise without really looking at the notes. Without basically having uh, without being so much prepared. So the first one I come to mind is, of course, Christian Bale. Christian Bale is a prolific actor. He's a method actor. But when I think of him, what are the roles that come up to mind? Of course, it's the Dark Knight trilogy as Batman and Bruce Wayne, because I think he really did a good job between differentiating Bruce Wayne from Batman and vice versa. I created three roles in this. That the public display of Bruce Wayne as arrogant, eccentric, the private Bruce Wayne was more brooding, and there's Batman. That's one role. Number two, there's when he played Patrick Bateman in American Psycho. It was a dark comedy, but it really made me laugh. But also, he showed a character with depth and complexity despite being a complete psychopath. So that's number two. You can also have his Oscar-winning Best Supporting Actor role in as Dickie L. Eklund from The Fighter. I mean, there's a movie with Amy Adams, Melissa Leo, Mark Wahlberg, and he steals the show with his performance. And the guy was so focused and dedicated to his role. He actually had the back of his head, basically, nearly a hole, basically, like a hole, basically shave part of his hair to make it look like he had a hole, basically, a balding cap in the back of his head. That's dedication to his role. Other people have taken a wig, he didn't. But he really played a really, really good Dickie Eklund, the movie. Another movie of his that's not as often talked about, but I think it's to me it's his last great movie to date was Ford vs Ferrari. I really love his performance as Ken Miles. It was very fun, very entertaining. His character was very courageous, very daring, but also I felt like he still had some limits there. So yeah, and number five will be when he played the twin brothers as Alfred Follen and Borden in Christopher Nolan's The Prestige. He really played, despite him and Michael Caine, basically both of them being played partners again, like in the Dark Knight trilogy, they played each other differently. They were basically still performer and mentor, but at the same time, it was not the same dynamic. And I really, really enjoyed that from that movie. That's Christian Bale. Now let's talk about another Batman actor, Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton, I feel like the story of his career is, I feel like since 2014, he actually has more, I will say, more various role, basically varying type of role, very different, like basically different kind of roles than he used to at the beginning of his career. Since his resurgence with Birdman, he has a plethora of roles, and honestly, since his resurgence, I feel like he visit the five roles I'm going to say. The five roles that basically I think are integral to my perception of Michael Keaton are on there. Sure, he's Batman and he's Bruce Wayne, and he brought in 99. He's still the Batman with whom I grew up, and with Batman Returns, he's still the Batman that basically I feel like should have gone a third one. Wink, wink. There should have been a Batman Continues, but for this list is the fact that he's able to portray Batman as, again, an eccentric, but he seems like, unlike Bruce Wayne, which seems more arrogant, this Bruce Wayne, public Bruce Wayne, seems more a loner, and more like aloof. Like he doesn't know. Like it feels like he is. It seems like he's playing his Bruce Wayne. Like if he lived under a rock, and yeah, the brooding Bruce Wayne is still there, and the Batman. The Batman is more revenge geared and not as cold. Basically, it doesn't have the same moral code as Christian Bale's Batman, but I still loved it. So yeah, that's for this. Of course, the year before being Bruce Wayne in Tim Burton's The Batman, he played in another Tim Burton movie known as Beetlejuice. And he stole the show despite having what, 12 minutes of screen time? It was entertaining. He was supposed to be basically a demon prankster, and yet it was more hilarious than anything. It felt more like not really a demon, it just felt like a guy basically self-serving, but at the same time still basically was true to his word. So yeah, and the funniest part why I mention this is because Michael Keaton played Beetlejuice in 1988, followed up. His very next movie was Batman in 1989. Now, fast forward to 2023, he reprised the role of Batman in 2023's The Flash, and the very next year, he played Beetlejuice in Beetlejuice in 2024. So, yeah, he reprised those roles after the resurgence. But since the movie I'm talking about, the resurgence of Michael Keaton, yes, we have him as Regan Thompson in the Birdman movie. I like the movie. My brother didn't like it, thought it was potential. I like the movie because also, who better than portrayed as Michael Keaton? I love the actor, but despite his best efforts, he's a very good actor anyway. People still saw him as one or two roles, and especially as Batman. And maybe that's the reason why I felt maybe that there should have been in the end of the trilogy because people could have left it alone there. But as Regan Thompson, he plays a character that basically tries to become a serious actor, basically be seen as more of an actor and an action star, and basically the struggles that has to deal with this. And I felt like there's a lot of meta humor based on Michael Keaton's situation or station in Hollywood at that time. So yeah, he broke out from that, but it still was hard for him to do. So I really commend him for that. I also want to put it basically, speaking of superheroes, he played a great Vulture. As Adrian Toomes in Spider-Man Homecoming, I thought he's one of the best villains the MCU ever produced. They infused him with humanity, with sinister, with some menacing tones, but at the same time, you understood where he came from. You you blame his action, but you couldn't blame how he felt. I felt there's something needed to change. You couldn't blame him, and in some ways, you actually felt like the heroes, basically the Avengers, should have done something to prevent this from happening. So yeah, I really enjoy his turn there. And the other ones are two Oscar movies, but like they're or at least two autobiographical movies. Like Ray Kroc as the founder. I mean, that movie was very good, and I'm surprised he wasn't nominated for any Oscars because he played Ray Kroc very well. And you had him as Walter Robinson in Spotlight, the 2015 Best Movie, the recipient of the 2015 Best Movie at the Oscars, Best Picture at the Oscars, just like the year before was Birdman. So 2 years in a row, Michael Keaton was the lead in a Best Picture movie. So that's very impressive. And I really like Spotlight, the movie. It shows the range of Michael Keaton. It also shows, you know, the entire movie is passionate, it's intriguing, but at the same time, it shows, the length of it, basically, that people will go through to basically keep a lie hidden. And I don't want to say more. Go watch a movie. I really love Spotlight. It's one of my favorite movies. So yeah, that's for Michael Keaton. From Jack Nicholson, let's go to the Joker from the 89 Batman movie. He has a plethora of roles. So narrated down was one of the artists for one of the lists. You had him as Randall Patrick McMurphy for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. One of my favorite movies. Basically, him playing as an ex-con who goes to a psychiatric hospital to basically reduce his prison stay, but then find out basically is still in another prison of another type of prisons. In which case, this case is like he doesn't get to control basically the surroundings like he used to maybe in prison. So it's a damn good movie, and it's one when Jack Nicholson says it's one of his favorite performance of all time, that says something knowing his body of work. Another favorite performance of his of all time is, of course, as Joker and Jack Napier. Do I need to say more? I talked enough about Batman here. I'm gonna pass on. So, I love his performance as Melvin Udall in As Good as It Gets. Like he plays a writer with OCD, and he can be very unnerving, but at the same time, slowly as he falls in love with the Hunt's character, he becomes more bearable. He becomes he becomes more tolerant, more comprehensive of others, and he seems to become a better person. So I also have him another performance as Frank Costello departed. I think that's my favorite of his latest movie in the 2000s. That's my favorite performance of his. Like, I think to me, it goes down as his last great performance was as Frank Costello in The Departed. Like, yeah, he played under a mobster like in Batman, but in this case, Frank Costello seems different. He was sinister. He wasn't laughing. He was basically like a person who feels like he was loyal to his soldiers who were loyal to him, but you better not mess up. This guy would not take any excuse. And yeah, and but he's very fascinating when he's on screen, as always. Is Jack Nicholson. So yeah. And number five will be as Colonel Jessup from A Few Good Men. You know that you can't handle the truth. His condescending tone, a smug, condescending lieutenant. Very good movie. I would suggest you watch it. So that's what I remember. Leonardo DiCaprio might actually be the worst in terms of not the actor. Might have been the worst time trying to narrow everything down to five roles because it's like, boy, he has a lot of great roles. But I had to put some of my favorites on there as Dom Cobb from Inception. I mean, enough said. As Howard Hughes, he plays Howard Hughes super well in The Aviator. Uh, I love his role as Billy Costigan in The Departed. So that's very well. Uh, what else? I love him as Rick Dalton in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So yeah, there's sorry, I just and of course I can't forget about Jordan Belfort when he played Jordan Belfort in Wolf of Wall Street. And I realized on my list, like three out of those five movies are Scorsese movies. So it's like Scorsese gets the best out of Leonardo DiCaprio. And I have honorable mentions. I had to put an honorable mention with him. It would have been Jack Dawson as Titanic and Hugh Glass. I'm sorry, I'm just remembering. I was gonna say Hugh Jass. Hugh Glass from The Revenant. The role that got him the Oscar, and to be honest with you, it's not even his best role on this list. It might be the seventh best role on this list. And yeah, it just felt like they gave him a thank you award when he should have gone in for Wolf of Wall Street. So yeah, Gary Oldman, talk about a character actor. Yes, plenty of great roles. Again, James Gordon, The Dark Knight trilogy. He was awesome as Sirius Black in the Harry Potter series. But he got some awards. He got some awards as Winston Churchill, sorry, Churchill in The Darkest Hour. He was what we say in French, méconnaissable. We couldn't recognize him. He was unrecognizable as him, but he played him so damn well. Of course, he played Dracula in Bram Stoker's Dracula, which awesome movie, very underrated. And I think the last great movie of Francis Ford Coppola. And of course, as Norman, the evil, corrupt cop in The Professional. Those are the five roles I remember him the best. So yeah, I know it as the bad guy as Fifth Element, but yeah, it was more goofy in this case. So we also have another Batman villain, Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson, despite the fact he played to one some type of roles in the recent years, he had plenty of roles that are different. Of course, as Oscar Schindler in Schindler's List, he played him with compassion, with empathy, and heroism. Basically, the opposite could be said as when he played Ra's al Ghul in Batman Begins and Dark Knight Rises, who was obsessed with balance and justice, to the point where his version of balance and his version of justice kind of became revenge. So yeah, you have this. He played the mentor of Obi-Wan Kenobi in Episode 1 Phantom Menace Star Wars. So yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn, he was awesome there. Of course, I have Brian Mills taken a monologue that wasn't supposed to be funny, but eventually became funny. And of course, this year as Frank Drebin Jr. So yeah, I also want to pick out roles that are different. I don't want the same kind of roles. Sometimes I want some difference up there. So yeah. Now, Robert Downey Jr., of course, he has plenty of roles. I'm surprised apart from one role, they all because since his resurgence. The first role that's before his resurgence was as Charlie Chaplin when he played Charlie Chaplin in the autobiographical movie Chaplin. He played a picture perfect version of Chaplin. And since his resurgence, what did he play? First of all, people can credit his 2008 superhero movie as a basically resurgence, but he started resurgence with Kiss Kiss Bang Bang when he played Harry in that movie. That was a great dark comedy that frequently basically broke the fourth wall, but it was very good, a very entertaining role, and it was compelled every time that Robert Downey Jr. was on screen or was conversing with the late great Val Kilmer in that movie. Of course, you have to talk about his role as Tony Stark, as Iron Man. I mean, the first Iron Man is still one of my favorite movies ever, and if it didn't work, there wouldn't be an MCU. So, and he played him with some sympathy, and basically there was a lot of correlation between Tony Stark and the Robert Downey Jr. Basically, the same kind of struggles there. So yeah, I mean, come from famous family, but they have their personal demons. Same thing here, and it could have flopped. That movie could have flopped. I mean, Jon Favreau did some comedies, but never did a superhero movie. Robert Downey Jr. never did before, and had problems in the past. And you have all of those things, and it worked. It was a sensation. It was a box office success. I think it was, if it wasn't Dark Knight, I think it was like number two. It was Iron Man that dominated the box office that year. So yeah. I also have to put Sherlock Holmes because I love Sherlock Holmes 1 and Game of Shadows, and I would love to see a Sherlock Holmes 2. So he played him damn well, and his chemistry with Jude Law really works. Of course, I have to talk about another 2008 movie, and it's his turn as Kirk Lazarus in Tropic Thunder. He was hilarious. He stole the show along with another actor that we'll say later on. And I'm still amazed that despite some mockery of Hollywood, they got nominated for Best Supporting Actor for that role in the Academy Awards. That was awesome. And one sec, sorry. And I think the last role will be as Louis Strauss in Oppenheimer, the one movie that got him the Best Acting nomination. So in this case, will be Tony Stark, Sherlock Holmes, as Charlie Chaplin. The four categories of slash was tied between Harry from Kiss Bang Bang and Kirk Lazarus from Tropic Thunder, and the fifth one is Louis Strauss as Oppenheimer. I think those are the roles that define his career, in my opinion, better than anything else. As far as Brad Pitt, I think I put honorable mention for F1 because I've seen him play that kind of role before. So, but it's near close. But are the roles that to me define him? There's Aldo Rain in *Inglourious Bastard*. Always exudes some kind of determination but coolness to him. Similarly enough, in another Quentin Tarantino movie, Cliff Booth. I mean, he shouldn't be that likable, but he's basically the best character in the movie. He steals the show. He's always cool, always can confront any obstacles, and is always seems optimistic in every facet of way. Yeah, sure, he's able to defend himself, but it's like he's optimistic. He doesn't seem to take something really, really too seriously. So you got this. As Detective Mills in Seven, of course, in another Fincher movie as Tyler Durden from Fight Club, and another Fincher movie again, Benjamin Button. I mean, Brad Pitt and David Fincher work super well. Him and it feels like Fincher and Tarantino best know how to use the talent of Brad Pitt. That's something I noticed in that list when I do those lists. Is sometimes you realize there's a correlation between one actor and a director, and it's like both of them work super well together. And I'll come to it later. Now we talk about one of the most celebrated actors of all time, Tom Hanks. What roles does Damon feel exemplifies Tom Hanks best more than anything? First, I have to start with the movie Big, when he played basically a 13-year-old and 30 years old body. As Josh Baskins there, it basically went from high school to basically being, I mean, not even high school, I think basically late grade school, and then goes into And basically, he goes into grown-up's world where he basically has to get a job, basically this, and it's a very funny way, but it's also very funny movie. But it's also the fact of the message that maybe everybody wants to grow up so fast. I mean, rather than basically treasure and savor the moment and just enjoy your youth, enjoy your childhood, enjoy adolescence, because before you know it, it'll be gone. So there's kind of that message there. Of course, I have to put in Forrest Gump. It's funny, but it never, I would say this, it never laughs at Forrest Gump. It laughs at the circumstance surrounding him, but it never laughs at the character. The character might not be the smartest one, but succeeds despite that. It's an inspiration. It's inspirational movie. Philadelphia is one of my favorite movies, but it's also a very sad one. I can't bear to always watch it because it's very sad. I mean, it's a very courtroom drama, and it's like for courtroom drama, I think that might be one of my favorites because some of them can be hit or miss. And the way he portrayed Andrew Beckett was beyond excellent. It's a transformative role for Tom Hanks. Of course, I have to say the Toy Story franchise as Woody is awesome. That's what I remember from him from. And finally, Saving Private Ryan as Lieutenant Miller. I think those are the roles that best embody the definitive roles of Tom Hanks' career. Now, another Batman villain about the Dark Knight's Joker, Heath Ledger. Of course, I have to basically mention his transformative role as the Joker in Dark Knight, where he stole the show, and in a movie that good, when you steal the show, it says something. You're always riveted to everything Joker does that movie. That's number one role. I also put him as Jack in Brokeback Mountain. I wasn't expecting this movie to be this good when I watched it, but it was. It was very good, and he immersed himself in that role. Sorry, he's not Jack. I think it's Ennis. Sorry, Ennis. I think Ed Jack is Jake Gyllenhaal's character, sorry, but as Innes, uh, Heath Ledger immersed himself in that role and doesn't look back. And yeah, it's a very good movie. So yeah, as his character in the movie 10 Things I Hate About You could have been a bad romantic movie, a bad drama, whatever. But it was a good comedy. It was good fun comedy. So. His short role in Monsters Ball, it's very poignant. Again, it's one or two scenes in there, but it's still something I remember him from. And his role as the son of Mel Gibson, the Patriot. So those are what I think about his best roles if I think of Heath Ledger. R.I.P. Now, Bill Murray. Bill Murray, I mean, he had plenty of great roles. Of course, his Ghostbusters at Peter Venkman, that'd be number one on my list. Always funny, always have he's witty, always has a zinger up to say. But there's other roles I remember him from. And as Phil Connors in Groundhog's Day, in Stripes, basically his serious role in Lost in Translation, and in Caddyshack. To me, those are the movies that best represent Bill Murray's career. As far as others, Charlie Theron, just like an actor, Charlie Theron to me, more than anything, might just be, I'll say this, one of the biggest names in Hollywood right now. Period. I mean, everything she does, she's badass at it. Atomic Blonde was one of the more badass movies I've seen, and I would really love a sequel. But alas, there's not. I mean, it's one of the best movies that I remember her from. Also in Mad Max Fury Road, like two movies like back to back as Imperiosa and Atomic Blonde, very good. But she also can do Oscar-winning roles like Monster and make you sympathize despite the character is less than, well, very reprehensible behavior, is still able to sympathize to them at the right moment. She basically, Charlize Theron put into work, basically made sure to transform herself in that role, to immerse herself in that role, and she deserved more credit for it. I know she played Cypher in Fast and the Furious, and to me, the Fast and Furious franchise, to me, it's like a guilty pleasure fast food thing. It's not nutritious, but it tastes good. To me, in that case, it's not really reinventing the wheel. It's not really necessarily great scenarios, but hey, it's fun. So I like her from that role. And also, in the movie The Devil's Advocate, that was a damn good role, damn good movie that's not as mentioned as often as it should be. I also have George Clooney. No, I don't try. I try not to remember him as Batman. I try to remember him from actual good roles, from like from Dusk Till Dawn, aka the template for the movie Sinners. I loved him in that movie. Was very sympathetic despite his intentions. His initial intention he ended up basically being the hero of the story despite himself. You also have Out of Sight when he plays a villain, a thief with J-Lo, and I think that might just be my favorite Jennifer Lopez movie ever, beside Anaconda. So yeah, that's for this. Uh, the other ones are in the 2000s. Syriana is a good political thriller and is where you won the best supporting actor. Very good thriller, but also hard to follow. But I think my favorite ever movies from George Clooney, at least I represent him, is Michael Clayton. I love that movie. I think that's basically in my opinion, the best performance or my favorite best performance of George Clooney, along with Up in the Air, as he plays Ryan Bingham in this case. Those are two movies I remember him from, and I think he exudes charm, and at the same time, it's a great performance that needs to be watched and studied. Now, again, in that movie, in George Clooney, Batman Robin, there was Bane, played by the late Jake Swinson. Let's talk to you about another Bane in Tom Hardy. Tom Hardy is also an actor that's plenty of great performance, a plethora of them, if you might ask. First of all, you're right. He played Bane Dark Knight Rises, and sure, Joker might have been better, but Bane, I don't see why people compare Bane to Joker because they not represent the same thing. Joker represent chaos. Bane represent not just pain, but basically you represent the problem that people left in the past, aka what Batman, Bruce Wayne left in the past. Basically, it's like a mountain of lies to get basically the Dent Act appeal. And that mountain of lies basically became a mountain of problem, a mountain of a man. It's like a metaphor there. Basically, by trying to cling on to the past to get your way, something rose basically from the ground. And yeah, that's basically what Bane is. They rose from the ground, and you're forced to tackle the truth head on. Head on, sorry. You're forced to tackle the truth head on that you weren't able to beforehand. That's what it is. It represents basically what the end of a trilogy or end of a series is. The hero thought basically, okay, I think I accomplished my goal in the second one, but in the end, all he did was placate it for a while. You didn't solve the problem. It's still gonna be there. You just pacified it, just calm it down, but he's gonna come back, it's gonna resurface later. And that's the thing. The truth resurface about Harvey Dent, the truth resurface about Bruce Wayne and what he did to the League of Shadow to escape its grasp. Bane played it with such a commanding, basically a commanding tone, a menacing tone, but also unlike the Joker, he felt more disciplined. He knew what to do. And he could best anybody in physical action. So that was very good. He played in another Christopher Nolan movie, he played Ames in Inception. Basically the guy who was basically in charge of conceptualizing all the basically the dream levels. So that was very good. In another Christopher Nolan movie, he played Farrier in Dunkirk. Again, he was portraying somebody with a mask, but in this case, he was an aviator trying to help during basically World War II. So that's for this. You also have him as John F. Fitzgerald in The Revenant, where he plays the antagonistic person to Leonardo DiCaprio's Huge Glass, and him in the movie The Warrior, movie Warrior. Those are the five roles I think when I think of Tom Hardy. Now, talking about basically the 90s, talking about the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. You think about Will Smith. Will Smith has a plethora of great roles as well. You have him as Hally in the movie Ali. Uh, you have him in 6 Degrees of Separation. But the movies I remember him from, first is Pursuit of Happiness as Chris Gardner. It's a character that was broke that chased down a stock broker's job in order to basically end up living his dream. That's what he wants to do, but the suffering he had to do to get that point. It's like basically you don't spend the time after he accomplished his dream. It's before becoming a stockbroker, an official stockbroker, the misery he had to put himself and his son through to get to that point. That's a damn good movie. As Robert Neville, I Am Legend, it's also a good movie. However, I prefer the DVD ending rather than theatrical ending. Theatrical ending kind of ruins the movie. The DVD ending, the alternate ending, to me should be the canonical ending. It actually works with him finding out that to him, that to the zombies, he is to the zombies what the zombies represent to humans. They see him as the monster. So to me, that's a very fascinating way to look at it. It could have been a brainless movie, brainless zombie movie, but upon that ending, in the alternate ending, it completely changed the game there. Of course, he played Agent J in Man in Black, and I love that trilogy. Second one's not as good, but MIB3 redeems itself completely. As Steve Miller in Independence Day, the first one, I still hate that they killed off screen his character in the second one. Like he deserved better. He chose Suicide Squad. Okay, a bad movie, but still, he didn't do anything bad then. And of course, as Mike Lowry in the Bad Boys franchise. And right now, I'm kind of saddened because I look at that list. It's like the last memorable movies I've seen from him are Bad Boys. Like what happened to Will Smith's movie career? That is, like he needs to do something and fast because it's like his star is fading. Jim Carrey, also a person in the 90s. Will Smith and Jim Carrey used to be the hot actors of the like basically they were, I mean, by they were on a hot streak in the 90s, and now it's like it feels like it feels like in Hollywood, actors who are on a hot streak eventually become really cold. Not they don't just get, you know, so it gets cold after a while. And it's kind of depressing doing that. What I remember, if I close my eye, think about Jim Carrey's career, I remember his turn as Dumb and Dumber, one of the best comedies ever, one of the best ending ever. The Mask. Don't watch The Son of the Mask. Watch The Mask. That's basically a comic book movie that feels like a funny comic book movie came to life, and it works. You got the first adventure. I don't really like the second one, and those are for comedy. And I would also hit as a slash with Ace Ventura. I would pit Sonic because I like the Sonic trilogy mostly because of Jim Carrey. But in terms of serious movies, I like Man on the Moon as his turn as Andy Kaufman. And knowing he went methodic actor on this kind of bothers me, but at the same time, it shows his range. It's also said that sometimes that's the reason why there's movies like Tropic Thunder that makes fun of methodic actors, because when you put in a movie and you refuse to be called by your real name, even though it's not wrestling, I think you're a mark. You're a mark for this. I'm sorry. It's like methodic actors to me, when you go too much to this, you're a mark for yourself. Like it's a movie, you know? Anyway, that's my opinion. I'm gonna go deep on this. And there's It's Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which is basically a damn good movie of Jim Carrey. Now, another actor that I loved in the 80s and 90s, how about Arnold? Well, I know what Arnold is. It's just that I still have trouble pronouncing his last name because I stammer a lot. So yeah, I'd rather not butcher his last name. That's why. I always dislike when people butcher my name. I do not want to get somebody else's name wrong, so I'm not. But the roles I love from him, of course, Terminator. Terminator 1 is good. Some of the special effect in that movie, I think some of the special effect kind of aged not as good well. But Terminator 2, I watched recently, none of this aged. In fact, it felt like it was recently filmed, which is great. And the story, honestly, it's timeless. There's a reason why Terminator 2D, No Fate came out and talk about Terminator, not Terminator 3, not Dark Fate, not Salvation, not Genesis, about Terminator 2 Judgment Day. There's a reason why, because it's a damn good movie, and you can watch, even if you're not fans of Arnold or this type of movies, you would watch it. And it packs a lot of emotion, a lot of action, of course, but a lot of emotion as well, a lot of thinking. It's very more cerebral than I thought it would be. And Arnold's performance in that movie was awesome. It didn't need to be much more than I played a machine. He played it sometimes with humor, but not too much. So yeah, I really love it. I think that might be my favorite performance ever of Arnold. You also have John Matrix Commando. That's an unintentional comedy. I'm not sure if it was intentionally meant to be a comedy, but it was to me. I mean, so many one-liners. Every time I watch that movie, I always end up laughing more than anything. It's cheesy, but it felt I think they knew they was gonna be cheesy because there's no way they can do all those lines and be cheesy. Or when John Matrix's character shoots all an army of bad guy and nobody can hit him, but he is able to, to shoot everybody else. That has to be a joke because honestly, this was hilarious. A tie between Conan the Barbarian and Dutch from Predator because those two movies are awesome. Uh, Ari Task from True Lies. I have to put on there. I have to put on there because it's a great comedy spy. So it's not exactly the same type of movie of Arnold. And as Douglas Quaid, a sci-fi movie from the Total Recall, the first one. So yeah, those are performances of me that represents Arnold the best. As far as another action star from the 80s, Sylvester Stallone. He has a great body of work. Of course, Rocky Balboa. Let's not forget, he's one, I think he's the only actor ever to be nominated twice in movie at the Academy Awards for two portrayals of the same role. Rocky Balboa in Rocky 1, 1976, and Rocky Balboa in Creed 2015. That takes guts, and you have to commend Stallone for it. He portrayed him as, yeah, he's not that smart, but guess what? He's determined, he's optimistic for the most part, and he doesn't quit. There's so much to love about Rocky in those movies. So, yeah, I'll put him there. As John Spartan, Demolition Man. Yeah, the movie's kind of cheesy at times, but it's good cheesy. But at the same time, Demolition Man makes me really think, like basically this about how the future is going out. So a very good movie. Rambo. Not every Rambo is good, but the first one is good. The second one as well. But I remember of Rambo. Basically, I remember Stallone there. Barney Ross in Expendables. I love the first three movies. I pretend that the fourth one never happened. It was just basically it was all a dream of somebody. I don't like that it's all a dream and it was all a dream ending, but in this case, I think it would fit well. And as King Shark in The Suicide Squad. Those are the five roles I remember of Stallone. Rocky Balboa, Rambo, King Shark, Barney Ross, and John Spartan. Now let's talk about Marion Cotillard. She has a lot of different kind of movies. She played Macbeth, Assassin's Creed, and of course, I remember her more for Inception as Mal in that movie. She was basically as a tragic love interest of Leonardo DiCaprio who was gone far too soon due to him implanting an idea in her head, and basically that led to her demise. I loved her as Miranda Tate slash Talia al Ghul. I can't spoil that, right? In The Dark Knight Rises. Because I felt it fit the bill. Though it's as much as I love Dark Knight Rises, I'll be honest, that was one of the least surprising thing I could see. I couldn't know that she was Talia al Ghul. It's just a moment in which she was going to reveal herself. That was the point. But I love that turn, despite also the one of the worst death scene ever. Apart from those things, I love that movie and I love her performance there, and that's one of the roles I remember her from. Of course, I talk about her portrayal of Edith Piaf in La Vie est Rose. That is one of the best performances I've seen in an autobiographical movie ever. And I don't remember the character's name, but her in Tim Burton's Big Fish was very good, as well as in the French movie Taxi. So yeah, those are the roles I remember from. Now talk about an actor that's still working. That might be one of the last big movie stars in Tom Cruise. Again, Tom Cruise has a body of work. It's like it wasn't as difficult as Leonardo DiCaprio, but it was still difficult because I'm trying to pick different teams. I don't want to be the same type of performance. Like I can't put in performance Oblivion there when there's something else that's basically similar. I cannot put it Oblivion or as Jack Reacher. I want to basically, to me, the quintessential Tom Cruise roles. For example, him as Ethan Hunt in Mission Impossible. I can't bypass it. I can't pretend it didn't happen because him as Ethan Hunt, I felt like looking back, there might be a one movie that I like the least, Mission Impossible 2, but there's no awful movie in that franchise. None. It's just the last one was just overly complicated and overly long, but it wasn't bad in any metric. Might be the reason why it didn't get as much mo money because I think people might get tired of movies that are overly too long. Like, yeah, but was very good. As Vincent in Collateral, I love this because against what he usually plays, and I love this. I was intrigued by the movie, and honestly, it's my favorite Michael Mann movie. E to me is number two, but number one is Collateral. And I love this portrayal of the Hitman. Jamie Foxx was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for that role for Collateral, but they weren't given a nomination for Tom Cruise for that role. That's stupid in their case. Talk about another thing that you play against type. How about Les Grossman in Tropic Thunder? That's a movie that I still remember seeing in the movie theater. And while The Dark Knight, my favorite movies ever, dominated the 2008 summer they dominated the summer box office. What was the movie that broke its streak? That's right, it's Tropic Thunder. And I didn't complain because I saw Tropic Thunder and I loved it. Like lines from Kurt Lazarus, I'm not dropping character until I do the DVD commentary. Things like that. Or I don't read the script reads me. Things like that. But Les Grossman is hilarious as well when he terrorized, basically say this, I will basically when he confronts Matthew McConaughey in that movie, it's like the way he treats Bill Hader's character, all things like this are hilarious. And people we didn't even know. It's like people in the movie theater when they see it, it's like, who's this actor? Who's this actor? And then the end credit basically show stop basically would stop basically this that would stop the picture and afterwards end with Tom Cruise and people say, that's him. Like people were stunned to know it was Tom Cruise. And I wasn't because I'm a movie buff, but I kind of knew like, hey, they took really good care of to keep that away from being a big secret. But I love that. I love that movie. That basically Tom Cruise is able to portray a non-Tom Cruise action star type of movie. But talk about this, Pete Mitchell in Top Gun. That was, along with Ethan Hunt, to me, the two quintessential Tom Cruise action star roles. And I love, especially, and it's brought here because of Top Gun Maverick. When basically his character, it's not just about being the best or the elite fighter. It's about redemption, about redeeming himself. That's why I brought it up there. And number five, it's a slash between Raymond Bibbett in Rain Man and Ron Kovac in Born on the 4th of July. Those two roles, basically, that shows Tom Cruise has range. Tom Green's another kind of actor. He has other range, though, but not in the same category. But Tom Cruise, I mean, both damn good performances should be rewatched and studied as well. So to me, for Tom Cruise, is Ethan Hunt from the Mission Impossible franchise, Collateral, Tropic Thunder, Top Gun franchise, as well as Rain Man and Born on the 5th of July, on the 4th of July, to me are the quintessential Tom Cruise performances. Now, from another person who's done some penguin roles. That's why I'm talking about Danny DeVito, the great Danny DeVito. If there was all roles, I would put It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but I said I would stick to movie roles. In movie roles, yes, plenty. Of course, the Penguin, as Oswald Cobblepot in Batman Returns. Sure, there's some language or some lines I feel are really cringy looking back, but most of it isn't. When he blackmails Max Shrek, I'm in. When he talks about his plan, I'm in. It's things like that, and the fact when he basically talks to Batman, basically tell him that he's jealous because he's a genuine freak, while Batman has to wear a mask to be a freak. Things like that I really love, and I think actually age better than some language or movie. And I'm actually outraged that the Razzie is nominated for Worst Supporting Actor. Do we even know what bad acting is, or you just hate on some role? That's the reason why Razzies and Oscars don't have much credibility either. Razzies exist to make fun of the Oscars, but right now you're just as bad. I love his role in Penguin, just like I love his role in Twins. The movie Twins was awesome, hilarious, and him and Arnold form a great team. I wouldn't mind seeing Twins too, honestly. I talked about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. One of the supporting, minor supporting character is Danny DeVito portraying Martini, and I found out basically through an interview with Danny DeVito. I listened to the interview online. He played portraying Martini in the play as well, the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest play. And the intention between Martini's backstory is heartbreaking. It's as a soldier who lost some of his colleagues and nearly drowned. And that's the reason why he always makes sure that Martini is always standing and basically make sure that he's never really like comfortable in a chair. That's the reason. And it's heartbreaking, but it's little things that he adds it on. He's not a methodic actor. He's not basically difficult, but it's like, hey, I'll add in this dimension of the character. And I thought it was awesome there. His role as Gavin in War of the Rose. I thought it's my favorite Michael Douglas, DeVito, and Kathleen Turner movie there is. Romancing the Stones are good, but kind of cheesy. And his role as Amos in Big Fish. So yeah, in Tim Burton's Big Fish. So yeah. Before the last one for today, Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman has a plethora of great hits, like All the President's Men, a political thriller. I thought it wouldn't be in it. I wouldn't be interested in it, but it's a damn good movie. The dialogue's awesome there. And but the roles I would pick might seem strange for people. First of all, the one that introduced me to Dustin Hoffman as a kid, Captain Hook. I remember back in the day that when you actually had to rent movies, a musical rental place like Blockbuster, and you can smell the popcorn there, and it was like a great place for just one to rent movies. And we rented Hook. And I don't know what's the reputation of Hook, but back in the day, I thought people loved it just as much we did. It was Steven Spielberg movie, check. It's a good scenario, check. Great performance, check. Captain Hook being played by Dustin Hoffman fit the bill, and I thought at the same time everybody played a damn good performance in that movie. Yet Robin Williams, the late great Robin Williams as Peter Pan. You had Maggie Smith, late great Maggie Smith, portraying an older Wendy. You have uh you have Julia Roberts playing Tinker Bell. You have the late great Bob Hopkins playing Smee. All of it's good. And yeah, I love his performance as eccentric Captain Hook. Even if he's a bad guy, he's still funny and you're still intrigued by what he does. So yeah, that's number one. His role in Tootsie, where basically he dressed himself as a woman to basically actually an unemployed actor who portrays himself or dressed up as a woman to actually get a role in a soap opera. And his lines in soap operas are so hilarious. As Dorothy Michaels, he always makes me laugh out loud. And it's also a parody of soap operas because it's like you basically parody some soap opera actors that cannot play cannot basically memorize their lines, or basically if there's no cue cards, they can actually play their role well. So that's actually funny. Also, as Ted Kramer, the single separated father, when Joanna, played by Meryl Streep, leaves him because she's unhappy with her life, Ted has to uh, summon his courage, and basically play the role of basically be the only parent of his kid for that time. That's a very good movie. Of course, as I mentioned, his role as Raymond Bibbit. Sorry. I'm sorry. I want to correct this. Tom Cruise played Charlie Bibbit. Sorry. Does not play Raymond Bibbit in that movie, Rayman. He was a titular Rain Man, and the attention to details they portrayed in that role were very good. And of course, the last one is Master Shifu in the Kung Fu Panda franchise. I like that basically he's the mentor of Po, but at the same time, he's always sarcastic, kind of cranky, or I want to say cranky. He's more cynical, sarcastic, but always well-meaning. So I love his portrayal of Master Shifu. And finally, another actor that I'm wondering what is it that he's not doing roles there, but always entertain me, Will Ferrell. Will Ferrell is hilarious. Like, I want to see more Will Ferrell hilariousness. I don't care if people say he yells a lot. I don't care. He's hilarious. And of course, his main role that I remember him, if I close my eyes, is him as Ron Burgundy in Anchorman. The first one. The second one is okay, but the first one is so legendary. He's such an idiot, but he's an endearing idiot. He's an hilarious idiot. And he shouldn't be that sympathetic, but he is. You also have his turn as in Talladega Nights as Ricky Bobby. Same initials, different characters in a way. Both idiots, but Ricky Bobby seems like to be, honestly, maybe a better person than Ron Burgundy. And he has his own redemption. You don't need to see a Talladega Nights 2 because all he has is redemption in the movie. So yeah, it's two movies with Adam McKay that makes it three. Him is turn in the other guys, him as Detective Alan Gamble. Of course, it starts off with the best, most hilarious ending of The Rock and Sam Jackson's character. But it's also in that movie, it's a clever puns and sometimes some humor against basically buddy cop comedies, basically two opposites basically being forced to be partners. It's like a very damn good comedy, and it's like I feel like Will Ferrell really plays well. Um, I also love his turn as Jacob Mugatu in the first Zoolander. It's so hilarious. He steals the show as a bad guy, the piano tie obsessed bad guy, and his turn as Frank in Old School. He's just hilarious. I think that's the role Frank in Old School actually made sure he became a big star in Hollywood. Before then, he was just playing supporting actors. Afterwards, he was playing big roles. And I would have to mention, as a serious turn, his role in Stranger Than Fiction. It should be mentioned as well. So those are that video will be titled One Actor, Five Roles. So that's my opinion. That's part one. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. See you later.